It's interesting you say that, Sangha, but not everyone has had the education, not everyone has the outlook. So everybody's asked, what do you think of Black Lives Matter? Not everyone has studied the history to understand what Black Lives Matter means. And to be a great player, you don't need to have understood the history. So is that a burden then?
Absolutely, Harsha. But there's an innate and inbuilt sense of decency and fairness that we all have. Whether we are educated or not doesn't matter. I've seen some of the worst activities or worst, acts committed by people with the best education. But if your education is not based on values, and if your education is not, rooted in that inbuilt moral compass, that where you know what is right and wrong, then you're in trouble. Education is not going to take any of those prejudices away. It's just going to allow you to argue them away better. And I think for a lot of the cricketers around today to wake up to what reality is and their roles in portraying a positive message to society is very important. The other thing is, you also have to understand as an entertainer, you are responsible, to the spectators and the fans for providing you with a stage and an audience in front of which to perform or on which to perform. Without them, you are nothing. And it is very important to understand that along with that comes social responsibility. The benefits that we get to be shared out, the benefits that we get for us to do something off the field that benefits someone else. It doesn't have to be on social media, it doesn't have to be on TV, it doesn't have to be public. But the responsibility you can't escape. And I think for all cricketers, we always have this. If you've seen it, we always have cricket teams or sports teams around the world doing charity. Some of it looks very staged because sometimes you feel that you have to, have it out there in social media, in front of the cameras, people to know what you're doing. But actually, there's no need for that. If you're a responsible citizen, whether you play sport or not, you have a responsibility to make another life better.
Well, the whole Black Lives Matter, which focused on racism, on how Black people were denied rights. As an Asian, is as different from Blacks. Have you ever experienced something that says, look, did someone tell you you're Asian? Did you ever get the impression as you were traveling around, I'm Asian? I may not be Black, but I'm Asian, and people are reminding me of that. Is that the next stage?
Well, I think everyone experiences various forms of racism and discrimination. Some historically, some in a certain context. Sometimes skin color is not the only basis for discrimination. But if you take Black Lives Matter, or if you take racism and discrimination in the world, I think one of the most important things to do is to teach our children history as it should be taught. Not to teach them a version of history that is sanitized, or the profile of someone who is considered to be great in a disinfected and sanitized manner so that you only see the positives or see someone in a positive light. I think it is important to shine the spotlight on every single person that we read about or talk about, that we consider inspirations, that we consider great in terms of history. We need to shine a spotlight on on their whole character, the good, the bad, the ugly. Once you understand what history and real history is, I think you will find a lot of attitudes changing. If you wake people up to that reality, instead of believing that we are the be-all and end-all of civilization, I think that is going to be a very, very powerful lesson to everyone. And Harsha, we are all taught to love our country, to respect our history and our traditions. Sometimes we follow that blindly, and that also stops us from appreciating other cultures, other countries, other people, other races, ethnicities, all of them, other religions. So educate yourself, open your mind, but more importantly, open your eyes, because without that, change will not happen, and change is not going to be overnight. It's not going to be a flavor of the month where you protest for a month and forget about it. It's a slow, tedious process that involves everyone in the world, not just one country, but everyone, all of us. And it is very important that we have these unbiased, realistic, and stark, and sometimes scary change being a part of how we raise our kids. We have to make them better. If we are not good enough, we have to make our children better. If we have not done our part, we have to ensure our children do their part. So we have to change as people, as individuals, and we have to ensure that our children grow up in the right environment, with the right mindset, and with open arms, open hearts, and open minds.